How's it going, everybody? DB Sports back, and we're gonna get into the Iowa State football schedule here. I am joined by a friend of the channel and friend of mine, Matt, on Twitter.
Hello, everyone.
This is his first time being on the show and being on the channel. Matt, welcome. Good to have you.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
We've got a bunch of stuff to get into, but I think we should start with the elephant in the room here, Matt.
Yeah,
Iowa State's going to be missing some starters.
yeah. I mean, we kind of knew about that since May. I feel like
Yeah,
anybody outside of the fan base is kind of like, oh my God, the Cyclones are just imploding. But I think that the coaches, especially Matt Campbell, kind of have it under control. I would say, but I mean, like, um, you know. Uh, able to prepare for this season, I would say. They know that like, hey, these people are going to be gone off the team and whatnot. So, doing what they can to fill those gaps.
right. So I don't know the full extent of like what the punishment is. It sounds like basically everybody is just done. It
Yeah,
sounded like maybe Remsburg was only going to get half a year, but they're not 100% sure yet. But like Deckers is gone. Jyrell Brock's probably done for the whole thing. Isaiah Lee bet against Iowa State against Texas, so fuck
big,
that.
big. Yeah,
Uh,
that's
yeah, I mean, yeah. So I mean, all those guys. I think there's a couple other names there that I missed, but oh, Deshaun Hanukkah also. But yeah, I mean, like you said, this is kind of something that if you follow Iowa State specifically, you've kind of known about since the whole thing kind of started, and maybe even before then. Um, but yeah, I just want to emphasize that Matt Campbell, as far as we know, none of the coaches have anything to do with this. So this whole like, oh, Iowa State 5-star culture, like blah blah blah. Like Campbell can preach it all he wants, but like if the players go against what the like rules are, that's not Campbell's fault. That's not the coach's fault.
yeah.
Like
You can't control what somebody does.
right,
Outside of what they're doing at practice or when
right.
they have them. So I mean, like it's not like the military where I put a tweet out kind of like that where people think that the coaches can control that. It's like they don't control when these guys go to sleep or when they go to the bathroom, things like that. And
Yeah.
they can't when they have their phones or whatever. It's they're their own person and they should be. They should be treated like adults because they are.
Right. And it sounds like with at least a couple of them anyway, they were using like their parents' name as like the sign up, and they were like so they were definitely trying to hide this. Like this wasn't something that they were
Right.
like, "Oh yeah, hey everybody, I'm gambling," other than that Hunter Decker's video that came out where he
That
mentioned
was a
at the
very bad
yeah,
look.
he mentions at the end he's like, "Hey, don't put this out there because this is technically illegal." It's like, well, maybe don't do it then. I don't,
Yeah, I
I don't
mean,
know,
and
but
it's I get that what's that saying? Drunk words, sober thoughts, and he was
yeah,
clearly drinking there, and
yes,
so we know what his intentions were.
right. So, yeah, obviously, we'll maybe get into this a little bit later when we're recapping what we think about the season, but. I do think that obviously these are all kind of big losses because every single one of the people that we're losing was a starter last year, basically, and was
Mhm.
projected to be the starter this year. So there's a couple people, I don't know if you're one of them, that, addition by subtraction here, but I think
I
that
I kind of think that, but
it maybe applies here because they were, like Isaiah Lee bet against Iowa State, and
mm,
it was like a $10 bet or something. Like you don't want that on your team anyway. So I don't know. It's just kind of a toss up to me. I don't really know how to feel about the whole thing because these guys before the gambling stuff came out, it was like these guys put in all their blood, sweat, and tears into this program, into this team, and
mm,
then you kind of find out that maybe they weren't 100% bought in anyway, and it's just like you get punched in the face.
yeah,
So
few angles there. Like that you're talking about is being bought in, and putting all their effort into it. I feel like at the time they probably could have been,
Right.
but at the same time, the gambling, almost everybody that is in the sports nowadays, it seems like, is betting. So especially getting advertised all the time, I feel like they kind of just got suckered into that. It's not to say that they weren't giving their full effort, but they're probably like, oh, I'm gonna do this, and it's probably a weird position to like be playing, and then betting on your team.
Yeah.
That's kind of weird. I was thinking about that. I don't know, you know, that they and I don't know how that works out, like how they're feeling about that, but I would say that they probably were putting their effort, but I don't think that they're doing that. They're obviously not 100% bought in.
Right. And it's just one last thing to kind of wrap this all up. Like, I don't know, maybe you feel the same way about this, but obviously it was against NCAA rules. It was against all the policies and everything. But I think now the discussion has suddenly shifted to not necessarily is it bad, but should it be bad? Because we preach to these kids all the time, like bet on yourself, dude. Like that's kind of the meme is like, oh, bet on yourself, but
Yeah,
not to the
literally.
NCAA. But
Yeah.
like, is it unless you're Isaiah Lee and you're betting against your team or you're betting the under, say, you know,
Yeah.
um, is it like how bad do you like? Obviously, there's competitive integrity, but like if I'm a college athlete and I bet on an MLS game, is that like how bad should that really be in the eyes of the NCAA? So I think that's kind of where the
Yeah.
conversation has shifted to. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that, but
I mean, I, for the most part, I think what a lot of people have kind of said is that it shouldn't be it shouldn't be bad for them to bet on, say, like the Super Bowl or the like World Series or whatever. Who was it? Remsburg, I think, said that he was betting on UFC fights. Why
yeah,
is that a bad thing? I I think that as long as they don't bet on anything NCAA, then they should be fine. Because especially if they're of age,
right,
I don't think that should be a problem. It's just kind of like, take for instance, drinking alcohol. There's
right,
probably, they can't go and obviously probably drink beer on site,
yeah,
at uh, their practice facilities, but they're of age, they can go and do that. I think that that shouldn't be a problem.
right,
But then again, alcohol is a little bit different than betting, but kind of apples, apples and oranges, I guess. But that's just how I feel. I guess the only thing I do have to say otherwise about the players specifically. So we said that let's go down the list here. It was Deckers, Brock, Annika, Remsburg, the starters, I should say.
yeah.
And then I miss anybody else?
Isaiah Lee was one.
Isaiah Lee. If you're looking at the offensive side, I think this is a good transition point before we go into
Yeah,
the schedule. Just kind of looking at the overall position groups. Um, talking about like the offense. So I know that there was a lot of chatter about, hey, is Decker's good? Is he not good? All this stuff. He's putting up a lot of insane yardage last year, but his turnover rate was horrendous.
yeah. It was
And
very bad.
I think you can agree with me too that um, he just really, all he did was throw to Hutchinson the whole time.
Yep.
Um,
Which,
but
I mean, you have a weapon like that, you want to use him, but at the
oh,
same time, it
yeah,
it kind of to me as a Packers fan, it felt like Rodgers with Adams.
mm,
Obviously you want to be feeding that guy, but when you've got your
yep,
number two guys open against the
yep,
49ers and he's getting to midfield, no question.
yeah,
Not to bring up any specific player or anything, and then you chuck it 50 yards to Devontae Adams and it falls incomplete
yeah,
on third and long.
yeah,
You know,
completely understand.
but yeah,
Uh, and like you've heard it too that people were saying like, oh yeah, Hunter Deckers is not that great of a quarterback and whatnot. It's like, okay, well then let's go ahead and you know let's accept that viewpoint and then say that okay, he's gone. So if he was that
right,
bad, then would you think that our QB2, you know, Rocco Beck, and then now we have JJ Cole coming in? Would you think they would be better?
Right. Yeah,
So I
and
don't know what your take would be on that, but
right. I think it all just kind of goes back to like the coaches the coaches kind of had an idea about it. So
mm,
you know, it was, you know, they asked about Gyrell Brock during fall camp or whatever, and it was like, oh well, he's not
yeah,
practicing, and it's like, why isn't he practicing? Oh well, you know.
yeah,
So
reasons.
yeah, reasons. It's like, well, so the coaches know who's not going to be playing this year. So you know, they've been practicing without Gyrell Brock because they knew he wasn't going to be playing. So,
Mm,
you know, this is kind of, I don't want to say this is a make it or break it year, but, you know, Campbell, this is kind of one of those things where what's he do now with adversity? You're coming off a pretty bad year. You lost a lot of
yeah,
games by one score. You've got to replace, you know, a quarter of your starters. You got like 5 starters to replace now that you weren't anticipating losing. So,
mm.
you know, how does he handle this? How do the players handle it? I think this is a really interesting year for us.
Oh yeah, certainly. Like you said, how's he handle that adversity? He preaches that all the time. Now it's kind of his time to really lead from the front and do that, to show to show the players that he can do that if they're all bought in, like we talked about. And I think that that can kind of help leverage this season, um, developing that depth within those position groups. I mean, like uh, they've probably talked about before with coaches have with injuries, and that's why they need to have that depth build up.
Right.
But obviously we can't foresee the gambling situation, but you can foresee injuries. And
Right.
injuries are going to happen, so they have to have that depth. And now it's kind of like I said, the next man up. And
Right.
so as I was saying about Deckers, having him be out now, I think Beck is going to be. I think Rocco's going to be a really good QB and step into that role. Granted, he needs to be seasoned and get his feet wet. I think that people compared him to Purdy almost. I've heard
Yeah.
his mechanics and everything. So we'll see how he does. But I don't think that Beckers and um, Brock being gone is going to be hurting um, the team as much as everybody thinks it's going to be. Because if
Right.
we just look at last year, our running game was abysmal. Outside of
Yes.
the three non-con games,
Yes.
yeah, Brock went off obviously in SEMO and Ohio, and he was a good workhorse against Iowa. But outside of that, after he got hurt, then like I said, our running game was abysmal. And
Yep.
I mean, like if we just have a consistent running back, which Cartavius Norton, as long as he stays healthy,
Yeah.
should be a consistent running back. I don't see a reason to get all worried that you know uh, we're going to be just as bad as last year with our run game.
Right. And I think part of that, you know, there's maybe a guy that we haven't exactly talked about on this show, but I know a lot of people have talked about it on Twitter. The one guy that could save this season outside of Matt Campbell is Mr. Ryan Clanton.
Oh yeah,
Coming
that's
in that offensive line,
oh
he's
yeah,
bulked everybody up. He's gotten
yep,
everybody swole for this season, and I feel like I can't remember who tweeted it out. I'll try to find the tweet and like flash it up on the screen or something. But there was somebody that tweeted like the amount of offensive linemen with starting experience and then like their
yep.
height and weight, and just the drastic, like 2021 we were up here, and then last year it just sunk like a rock, and now this year it's back up kind of where 2021 should have been with starting
I actually
experience.
had
And
that.
oh, do you
Actually
have
had
the
that
tweet
stat.
pulled up?
Yeah, so it's essentially it's offensive linemen with 3+ years of college
Yeah.
experience
Yep.
as their average weight, and then the number of linemen. So the average weight number of linemen, it's 15 linemen with 3+ years of college experience, and the average weight now is the highest it's ever been at 317 pounds.
Yeah.
I think it's not only just is it Ryan Clan, but I think it's Kagi too, the
Yeah.
new
Yep.
strength and conditioning coach. I
For
mean,
sure.
that dude looks like he knows what he's doing.
Right.
If you've
Right.
seen him, he's just a mountain of a man. It's unreal, and
Yeah.
I will be the first to say that like I am the biggest Ryan Clanton stan too. I mean, I changed my profile picture
Yep.
on Twitter to him and said and I put a tweet out. I'm like, I'll be the unofficial Ryan Clanton burner because I think that he's going to be the most integral part, like you said, to this season. I truly 100% believe if we just have just even just an okay line, just an okay offensive line, uh, I have no doubt that our our yards per carry will go up. The time in the pocket for Beck,
Yep.
if he's the quarterback, will be a lot better. So I think, like you said, that will be, I think, the key to the success this year.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, we've put it off long enough. Should we jump into week 1?
Yeah, definitely.
So you talked about getting thrown into the fire for
Mm-hmm.
Rocco and whoever else is going to need to be that next man up. I can't think of a better tester for week 1 than Northern Iowa.
I don't know why we keep scheduling
I
them, but
don't know why we keep scheduling them. Oh
I
God.
I can't remember what podcast I was listening to, but they said somebody from that was part of the program at the time. They said that they specifically, if Northern Iowa is playing Iowa or Iowa State, they specifically like that is their Super Bowl. Like
Yeah.
that they are going all out to just beat us.
Yep.
And so
I,
yeah, that is definitely definitely really they're an FCS team, yes, but that's also kind of throwing them to the wolves a little bit
right.
too.
I mean they're typically a pretty good FCS team.
Yeah,
Like they're
they
not.
definitely
I mean, they're maybe not the North Dakota and South Dakota State of the world, but they're definitely like they're an FCS playoff team, like
are. Oh
every
yeah.
year.
Yep.
I mean, granted, it's like 24 teams in the FCS and not 8 or 4 or whatever we're gonna have now.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's a damn good program that they got there, and they give Iowa and Iowa State fits every
Mm-hmm.
time that they play. I mean, you think back to just the last time we played them, we won in like what double or triple overtime because Brock
Yeah, and
Purdy
then the
saved us. like,
so I think what was that? That was 19, and then in 21 when we played them. Was it 21 when we played them? It was
uh,
yeah.
yeah,
It was too close. Like for how much hype we had on that team, that 2021 team, way too close
yeah,
for them to be playing that. And I think that I don't know if it was a mix of you've heard they're not opening up the playbook or whatever. I don't know if it was a mix of that or they just weren't ready to go
yeah.
that game. But
You
it
can't
was
do that
way
against UNI though.
not this year, especially
no,
not this
no.
year. No. Oh God. I mean, I don't know how you feel, but I think that they still get it done.
Yeah,
They still,
I, you know, if to me it kind of feels like that. Rocco doesn't. What he doesn't know can't hurt him. It kind of feels
mm-hmm.
like one of those type games where he's just gonna kind of go out there and just enjoy it.
Yeah, definitely.
So I do have us beating Northern Iowa. So we get
Yeah,
it started
same.
off on the right foot. Just to then play Iowa.
Oh yeah, that's. I think, man, it's. I don't think this whole September they're gonna be. I think it's just gonna be a gauntlet.
Yeah.
Honestly, this whole September,
Yep.
especially with. I hate to say it's not per se a young team, but more of a. They don't. I feel like they just don't have their feet under them after.
Right.
I feel like they just got kind of sucker punched with the whole gambling thing, and
Yep.
that could affect them a little bit. But I think that if they can just get the right footing on Northern Iowa, they come off with a good, solid win. Not a walk off field goal win, but a solid win. I
yeah.
think that they can, I feel like they'll be ready for Iowa. I don't know what
It
your thoughts are on that.
so I think with Iowa it kind of so Iowa to me I'll be honest, I haven't picked us to beat Iowa in probably like 8 years. I
Yeah.
I just refuse to pick us in this game. I don't know what it is. We won last year obviously. Um, After Iowa missed the like 50 yarder at the buzzer or something.
I just want to say that I don't, Hawk fans can attack me all they want and whatnot, but I feel like we should have really beat Iowa by a lot more
I
last
don't
year.
disagree. Yeah,
We just always shoot ourselves in
Deck,
the foot. Always.
Deckers threw a pick in the end zone. We had like two blocked punts that set him up inside the like 20 both times. I mean,
And then the fumble by Jairo Brock right at the
yeah,
one,
yeah,
just out. You can't write something like
yeah. No,
that's like a movie.
yeah, I just like I said, I just basically I refuse to pick us in this Iowa game. I haven't picked us in like 8 years or something. Like I just refuse to do it. So as
I
much as I want to pick Iowa State this game, I just refuse to do it. So
so I'm gonna be the Cyclone fan that I am.
yeah,
I'm gonna say that we're gonna pull it out and beat them. Now here's how I always take a look at playing Iowa. It's I I um, was it hope for the worst or not hope for the worst, hope for the best but prepare for the worst,
yeah,
right?
yep,
So I know that Iowa State this year can beat them. They
yeah,
can
yeah,
100%.
for
Iowa is
sure.
beatable, but it's how much does Iowa State want to beat them? That's
Right.
the thing.
And I feel like
Not
yeah. I
not.
I messaged you last night as we were kind of preparing for this, and I said that I love Matt Campbell, and I want Matt Campbell to be the Iowa State head football coach
Oh,
for the rest of
oh,
eternity. And I think there are a lot of Iowa State fans that agree with me on this.
mhm.
However, for as much as he preaches the details and the margins and all the little things that you have to do right, we lose a lot of one score games. Now, granted, college football is a very, especially in the Big 12, there's a lot of close games in the Big 12. There's a lot of one possession games. There's a lot of game winning field goals. There's a lot of just these really back and forth battles in the Big 12. And when you have a good defense like Iowa State does and you got these low scoring games and everything, you're going to just inevitably have more of those. But we got to start winning these at some point. Because I'm
Yeah,
sick and tired of going 4-8 and 7 of those 8 losses are by 9 points or less. I'm
yeah.
sick of it.
I 100% agree. It feels like I get gray hairs on my head
Yeah.
just watching the game sometimes. It's just like it's so stressful. But Matt Campbell has preached before about he had a presser where he talked about specifically what you were talking about, how they play in these close games, and he does realize that he's a
Yeah.
smart man.
Yeah, for
He
sure.
knows that.
For sure.
I think it comes down to his play style too.
Yeah. Yep.
He likes to squeeze the air out of the ball with
Yep.
um, time possession.
Right.
And the thing is if you're doing that, then you can't make those mistakes.
Right.
You can't. Because then you're playing catch up. And he said that. I'll find a presser for you someday, but he said that, and I, 100% agree with you. But I think it's also his play style. I think
Yeah.
that if he gets a change of approach, maybe with Shieldhouse this year, that they can start, you know, slinging it down the field or really just, you know, playing some more smash mouth football, just getting it down the
Yep.
field instead of just, air, just squeezing the air out of the ball. And I think that we can actually do that. So if they play going back to Iowa, if I think that they can beat Iowa. My reasoning for that is, I mean, okay, yes, Iowa has Cade McNamara, cool. They have Eric All, great. Okay, are those the only two people on the team? No, they're not. Um, who do they have? Deontay Vines and Reganey for their wide receivers. That
Yeah, I think
I
so.
mean, they're I mean they're not world beaters,
No.
and look at our secondary. Do you think Reganey and Vines are going to be able to bust loose against, TJ Tampa,
No,
um,
Miles
or our
Purchase.
secondary? Yeah,
Um,
like I don't think so. But yes, our weak spot is in the linebackers. But I think that if Iowa can't air it out and we put pressure on the ball, up at the line of scrimmage, it's going to be really, really, really hard for them.
for sure.
Um, Now they could, get the old Iowa luck and get those turnovers
that
and score on defense.
you you led me
I
right to
just
my next point, Matt.
Yeah. If so, I think that Iowa State will win by probably, if not two field goals, by a touchdown, so 6 or 7 points.
Okay.
There's not going to be a blowout, not going to be anything like that.
No.
I just think that Matt Campbell finally has the monkey off his back.
Yeah, that's true. That might be the biggest point to pick Iowa State
Yeah.
in this game is that Matt Campbell finally he finally has it. He finally has that win
Yeah.
against Iowa. Which
And Iowa just doesn't scare me this year. It's like, cool, they're going to be probably a 10-win team this year. They should be, granted their schedule, but I don't think that they're. I think that Iowa State's going to give a run for their money, especially in Ames.
in Ames, yeah, for sure.
I don't care if they win in Ames or not; it's still really tough. And
Yeah.
so this is where I think Iowa State can capitalize, and Matt Campbell, pulls off his second straight win. So
Yeah.
6 or 7 points there. I think that they get that done. So 2-0, I feel, looking at going into their third game, but 1-1. That's not bad either.
Look, I just think that there's gonna be some Iowa fuckery going on. There's gonna be some bullshit that happens that it's.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's it's going to be like, I feel like it's going to be like last year where it was back and forth and like, oh god, this happened. This
It's gonna be
turnover, Iowa turns it over, and then it's just Iowa State can reel it out. I don't know. Hopefully.
Yeah. So you have us 2-0. I have us 1-1. Final non-con game at Ohio. Ohio's got a good team. That's a good team.
They won the MAC last year, didn't they?
Yeah, they were in the MAC championship. I don't know if they won or not, but they were in the MAC championship.
They were. Where they go? I think 10-4 or something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
So I mean, they're a good team, but if that's the same team, I'm not sure exactly who they're returning or anything. But if that's the same team as last year, I think Iowa State can still pull it out. However, it might be a little bit closer of a game because it is at Ohio.
Right.
So that could be a trap game too. Need to be careful with that one.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, they were 10-4 last year. They went 7-1 in the MAC. They lost the MAC championship 7-17 against Toledo. Okay. But they did win their bowl game against Wyoming. So.
Well, that's not really saying much against Wyoming, but
no.
The ESPN analytics has Iowa State about 75% chance of beating them. So,
I'd say that's about right.
Yeah, I think it's not going to be a blowout game, but they'll probably win comfortably.
It's very strength against strength. I feel like Ohio is very much an offensive-minded team, and Iowa State is probably going to be pretty defensive-minded once again this year. So that'll be a fun game to watch. So definitely no pushover in the Bobcats, but
yeah. I will say before we go any further, so I'm going to projecting my my wins and losses. I'm going to be saying what my best case scenario is for Iowa State overall. So I mean, yes, I am optimistic,
right?
But I'm saying best case. I mean, people can laugh at it all they want, but realistically, I mean, I don't think that they're going to be trash this year, but I think they'll struggle with some games. But that's all I want to say.
I like that.
Going forward.
So you've got us 3-0. I've got us 2-1 in the non-conference game, and then we get to start off with a banger in the Big 12. Oklahoma State comes to town, and that game is always fun. When Oklahoma State comes to Ames, whether they're ranked or not, it feels like it's always a 7-point game one way or the other. So preaching those one-score games at Oklahoma State always seems to be one of them. So where do you have us against the Cowboys?
I don't know about you, but I feel that Oklahoma State isn't going to be on the up and up this year. I don't. I mean, they're not going to be bad.
Right.
I feel like because they lost a lot of people, didn't they?
Oklahoma State. Well, so they'll have a new quarterback, right? Because they had Spencer Sanders, or is he still there?
No, no. He went to Ole Miss. Funny enough, he went to Ole Miss and then he got beat out.
Oh,
um,
oh
yeah,
no.
so he's not even the starting quarterback
Oh,
down there.
they won't have Arland Bruce.
Uh, that's true.
So,
Rip.
uh, yeah. Fun fact about Iowa State's gambling thing is that the the competition people or whatever also got Iowa. So Arlen Bruce not gonna
Sorry,
be not gonna be with the
sorry,
Cowboys
Cowboys.
this year. We don't think so. Yeah.
I think they had a transfer, like you said. God, I can't remember. Bowman. Where was he?
The
Alan
Was he the Texas Tech
Bowman.
quarterback?
Um,
Yeah,
let me see.
Alan Bowman was at Texas Tech.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna say that sounds familiar. So Alan Bowman. I I think with Sanders not being there, I think it's going to. I mean, I think it's going to be a little rough for the Cowboys coming in Ames, and usually is. Um, just historically speaking, I think that Iowa State will give them a run for their money in Ames. I think that they can pull this one out as well. I think that they can beat them comfortably. It'll still be pretty close, probably going into the fourth. Um, I don't know
Yeah.
about what you think.
Yeah, like I said, this is always a game that I feel like it's a coin flip either way. I like the fact that it's a home game to start conference play. Um,
Yeah, definitely.
I always feel like that first conference game when it's a home game, I just always feel better about it. Um, so I actually am with you. I do like Iowa State to beat Oklahoma State this year. Um,
Yeah,
I think
ESPN has them.
they get
Uh,
started off on the right foot.
yeah, I think so too. I think that would be. I think that will also be a key for this season in Big 12 play if they win their first Big 12 game. I think that was a
Yeah,
big factor last year. Them not winning that first Big 12 game against Baylor really kind of put a sour taste in their mouth a little bit,
yep,
um, and especially losing next game to Kansas and whatnot. So I think if they can win this game against Oklahoma State, like I said, ESPN has them at 55% about to win. So I think it'll probably be a field goal, maybe a touchdown.
yeah, I like that. I like that. Like I said, this will be a coin flip. It's always a close game. It's always a fun game when Oklahoma State comes to town. And
Mm-hmm.
like I said, I love that first Big 12 game being at home. So I
Yeah.
like Iowa State. Like you said, 3, 6, 7, somewhere in there. It'll be a
Mm-hmm.
good one. The next game I'm not as sure about because we
Same here.
close off the September slate. 5 games in September this year, and the last of which we travel to Norman, hopefully to send the Sooners off to the SEC with a bad loss to the Cyclones. But how do you feel
I
about that one?
if they can pull it off, it's going to be damn close. But I don't feel good about them playing in Norman. Uh, I mean, I don't know how you feel about Oklahoma this year. I've heard mixed things. That some people are projecting them to be right up there with Texas this year, but I've also heard different that Venables he's not doesn't have them on the right track and whatnot. But who's to say until they actually play?
Right.
I just still it's in Norman. Nothing good ever happens when they play in Norman,
Well,
except for 2017.
yeah.
But
Other than that one
that's the
time,
only one
but
time.
yeah, unfortunately,
So
that's been the exception and not the norm. No,
yes,
no pun intended.
um,
But
I think it's going to be another close game. I feel if they lose any games this year, it's going to be really close. Obviously, uh, but I don't. I think Oklahoma, wins it by a touchdown probably.
Yeah, Oklahoma's it's just kind of one of those weird teams to me in the Big 12 because there's all these people that are just Texas and Oklahoma are clearly the two best teams. And, maybe for Texas I could see that. I mean, obviously Texas always has all the recruits and everything. Um and I think Venables is a good coach. I think the problem is Brent Venables came in and he's a defensive guy and Oklahoma has never once ever been a defensive football team. So
But
I think
look
especially
at last
last
year.
year. Yeah, go
They
for it.
weren't defensive.
Right,
They weren't defensive
exactly.
last year.
Right.
They got
So yeah, I don't know.
they got blown out by Texas. Like that's
Yeah,
unreal.
yeah. It just they're just such a weird team to me to try to figure out because you think of Brent Venables, you think of all those great Clemson defenses. You think about how good Clemson was on defense all those years with Brent Venables. And then he comes to Oklahoma, and obviously there's the Lincoln Riley brings Caleb Williams, and then all those people with him.
Mhm.
But Oklahoma, they were what 6-7 last year.
Yeah,
So
they didn't break the 500.
yeah,
So
and they beat Iowa State in Ames by 14, but that game was a lot closer than 14. I think they had like
yeah,
a
it wasn't like garbage time field goal, not field goal, touchdown too at
yeah.
the. I can't really remember.
I
Um,
think did we have like a field goal block that game or something? Or no, they ran a fake field goal for a
they
touchdown
ran a
that game.
big field goal. Yeah, for that.
So
That was
yeah,
weird.
I mean, I feel like that game was closer than 14. I don't know that this year it'll be closer than 14.
It's hard to say because we don't know what this Venable era
Right.
Oklahoma is going to look like, and I, like I said, don't feel comfortable with them winning. If they do, it's going to be pretty damn
Oh,
close.
I will be insufferable on Twitter if Iowa State goes into Norman and beats
Yeah.
Oklahoma to send them to the SEC. I
Mhm.
I will. Oh God, that would be the sweetest. This probably the second sweetest win if it were to happen on this
Yeah.
schedule. But
I just hope the Cowboys can beat Oklahoma in their last bedlam.
yeah,
That's
yep,
what I'm hoping.
yep. All right, so I think we both have Oklahoma temporarily as an L, although
Yep.
we don't really know what the Venables era has to offer. So I've got us 3-2, and you've got 4-1.
Yeah.
Uh,
Going into October, 3-2 or even 4-1. That's you're sitting pretty good
I
there. I think
yeah,
that's good.
I like where that's at. I guess we'll continue the schedule and see how I feel like the end of the season goes. But I would feel pretty good at 3-2. Uh,
Hmm.
TCU, the college football runner up last year, got absolutely smoked
I think anybody gets smoked by Georgia
by Georgia. Yeah,
except for Missouri last year, which I don't know how
yeah.
that's out. But
So
I
last year against TCU was not a fun game.
yeah, I
Uh,
think they just I
they
don't know
just
what
the season was
just
over
gave
at
up.
that point. I guess I don't know what.
They just gave up,
Yeah, I don't
and
know what was going on,
I
but
don't blame them. I really don't blame them. I mean, I mean, at that point, it's okay. Are you going to give it your all to not even go to a bowl game,
right,
but also ruin the Big 12's hope for a playoff spot?
right,
I don't blame them, and I think that was Campbell's chance to kind of see what they
right.
could do in those situations, throw Becton and whatnot. I know Decker's got hurt, but
Yeah,
do something different, test it out. This TCU this year is going to be a completely different team.
for sure. No Max Duggan, no what's his Quentin
They're run,
Johnson.
yep, they're running back and their wide receiver.
Kendre Miller, I think, is no longer there, if I remember correctly.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's with the Saints now. So
they'll be a good team, but I think that it's going to be a lot different. And one thing that a lot of people overlook is this game is going to be the 100th year anniversary of it's the Jack Trice game.
yes,
I think that a lot of people overlook that. And
yep,
if here's what I'll say: if Iowa State goes into say a TCU game say 4-1. They just got off a bad loss to Oklahoma. I think they're going to be fired up to beat TCU on this Jack Trice game,
Yep.
and wearing those cool uniforms.
Those are so cool, by the way.
Yeah,
Those
those
are
are
so
awesome.
sick.
They should just make those their default.
They should. They actually should, though. Like,
Mhm. So I think they will beat TCU. Obviously, it's gonna be close. All these games are gonna be close. But I think they'll beat TCU, uh, probably by a touchdown. If not, it's gonna be, like I said, one way or the other on the other side. I don't think that TCU is going to be uh, blowing them out or anything again. So,
right. So here's what I got for this game. I didn't like it when I was like, okay, well, we're playing TCU because the schedules came out. So there's a couple new guys in the Big 12. So there's a couple normal teams that we normally play that aren't on the schedule. But TCU was on there, and I was like, oh man, we're gonna get absolutely mollywopped again. It's
mm-hmm.
gonna be a home game. It's gonna be a sad day at Jack Trice Stadium. And then I was like, well, they don't have Max Duggan, and they don't have Kendre Miller, and they don't have Quentin Johnston. And, maybe there's a little bit of a turnover there, and maybe, but then I was like, well, the coaches know that those guys aren't going to be there, so they're going to have all those guys ready, that next man up type thing. And then there was that tweet. There was that tweet that was like, hey, we're wearing these Ames uniforms for the Jack Trice game, and that's going to be October 7th against TCU.
Mm-hmm.
And I just hammered the W button. I was like, that's a win. There's no way that Iowa State's losing that game. That we rocked the all black uniforms. We're like undefeated in those, except for like one game here or there. But like
yeah,
they come out with the new uniforms. They always play good in the new uniforms. There is no way that Iowa State loses that game. This is my one. This is the one that I get. This is the one I get to be a fan for. I get to be completely not objective at all on this one. Iowa State is winning this game, and there's nothing that anybody can say or do that's going to change my mind.
No,
Absolutely nothing.
I completely agree. I feel that everybody's going to overlook it. They don't understand that it's the 100th anniversary Jack Trice game, and it's just going to be, they're going to have probably TCU at -6 or whatever, and they're like, oh yeah, TCU, they're gonna blow them out again like last year. Nope, not gonna happen.
Not gonna happen.
Iowa State's gonna, really put in all their effort against TCU. So I think they get that W.
I get one game a year that I get to do this for. This is my.
I hope it's a night game. I hope it's a night game.
This is the one. This is the one game that I get to be a fan for. Iowa State's gonna beat TCU.
I will say. Going back to Oklahoma real quick, I forgot about this, but keep in mind, Iowa State is the game before the Red River Shootout.
Oh.
So it could be a look-ahead game.
You're saying that Oklahoma might be peeking at that schedule a little bit.
I think so. They could be. I don't know. I mean, just think about it. They go to Cincinnati. So they go to Cincinnati. And then Iowa State comes to them, and they could be thinking, "Oh, it's just Iowa State. They're bad last year. We're going to beat them, and then we're going to move on to Texas."
They're gonna want that Texas game after what happened last year.
100%. So I just want to anybody that's listening keep in mind that it could be a look-ahead game.
All right.
But
well, speaking of traveling to Cincinnati.
Yeah,
that's next up on the schedule here. How do we feel about the first of the new Big 12 teams and Iowa State going to Cincinnati?
So I will say, just looking at the schedule, I know that ahead of Cincinnati is Baylor.
Yeah.
And both are away games. I think that flat out they're going to win either one of those. They're not going to win both. They're going to win one or the other. It's going to be Cincinnati or Baylor. But I think if I had to pick, it would beat Cincinnati. And looking ahead to Baylor here, they'll probably lose Baylor. But I think it's going to be one or the other. But I think that out of those two options, Cincinnati is probably the easier one on the schedule.
I would agree with that part, yes.
Nippert's, I heard, not a easy place to play at. Uh, if it's a night game, then God bless. Uh, I've heard, was it Nip at night, something
Yeah,
like
yep,
that. But
yep.
it's so if I think that it's going to be another close game, but Iowa State should be able to beat them. It's right now. I'm looking at the Massey ratings for both Baylor and Cincinnati. They have them at just to pick them about 50%. So
Okay.
I
Uh,
honestly, depending how they do at the beginning of the season, going up to TCU is going to depend how they're gonna if they're gonna beat Cincinnati or not. I
right.
think.
So here's maybe this is a little bit of a sneak peek ahead in the schedule, but can I just say that I hate that we're playing the two new schools on our schedule both on the road?
Yeah.
Can I just say that I hate that
Yep.
because I feel
Here.
like both of those teams are going to want to come into the Big 12 and make a statement. And I hate that we have to go to both Cincinnati and BYU. I hate
And
that.
what sucks is that since Big 12 is changing in 2024, I highly doubt that it's going to be we go to Cincinnati, they come to us
Yeah.
next year.
Yep.
It's not going to be like that. So
Yep.
it, I think that's like you said, it's not good.
Yeah. So maybe this is a giveaway for the BYU game, but I do have us losing at Cincinnati. I just think that
Okay.
Iowa State, this feels like I don't know what Cincinnati's schedule looks like. Maybe I could pull that up here, but I feel like this is kind of
Um,
one of those where maybe Cincinnati feels like they can kind of get a leg up on the Big 12 when Iowa State comes to town.
so they do play. Oh shoot! Oh, they're coming off a
Oh, they're
bye.
coming off a bye. Oh God.
Yeah, that makes it
I
even
was
worse.
I
Well,
looked it up. I was like, oh, they're at BYU. Maybe they'll be tired. No, they have a bye. All right. Well, yeah. No, I'm gonna chalk that one up as an L for me.
I think, like I said, I I think Iowa State does beat them. But I mean, because I got to give them one away game that
Yeah.
they're gonna win. Because they got to do that. They
Yep.
have to if they want to make any momentum, they have to have an away game win. But I think I think they do win close game. I think that they do win there. So um,
I like it.
I have them at what five, one, two, three, four, five, six, 6-1
Six and
going
one.
into the end of October.
I have 4-3 going into Baylor, and
Okay.
that's
Yeah.
I'd like to point out that's 4-3 because I'm giving myself TCU. If that
Yeah.
wasn't the Jack Trice game, I might pick it a little differently, but it's the Jack Trice game, so that's a dub. So I'm I'm a little bit more on the I don't know if people have picked this up here listening. I'm a little bit more on the pessimistic side here. Like just get out of this year, do what you can with what you're given. Just try to,
I am
you know.
I'm the
I love your
I'm
positivity though.
I'm the optimist
Give me
of
all
the
of
fan.
the optimism here. The yin to my yang, as we head
I
into
feel
Baylor.
I feel like on Twitter I'm the only optimistic fan.
You might be.
Everybody's all poopy about it, and I'm just kind of like, you know, having lived through the Paul Rhodes era and everything. I'm just like, hey, like it can only be better, and that's what I think. But going into Baylor, like you said, they're coming off a bye, correct?
Yeah. Yep. So at
Um,
Cincinnati, then a bye, and then at Baylor.
okay. It's not gonna be hot there. Shouldn't be. I don't know. Who knows? Maybe it'll be
Yeah.
record highs.
Yeah. Knowing us, it'll be 104. As long as we get tense,
Yeah.
that's all I care about. Not that that would be relevant against Baylor, but
Yeah.
yeah.
So okay. I might. I might end up switching this. I might end up switching that
You think?
because, like I said, if it's going to be one or the other, they're
Yeah.
either going to win against Cincinnati, lose a Baylor, lose Cincinnati, win at Baylor.
Yeah.
I just got to give them that one road game. But I guess I might switch it because, they, like you said, might be giving their all with that TCU game, and then go to Cincinnati and just lay an egg. Uh, but then they had that bye, get rested up, and full steam ahead. Maybe um, pull it out against Baylor. So
Yeah.
I'm inclined to switch it, but it's like I said, either one of them. I think having that bye though is going to really help them out.
I think it's a key buy.
Yeah,
And it's
100.
great because it's kind of middle of the season. It's not like it's a week 4 buy. It's not like it's a week 12 buy. It's kind of right in the middle there, a Big 12 play, which I really like. I always prefer the mid-season buys.
Was it last year or I don't know if it was last year or 21 where they had a really weird bye?
Last year was between Texas and Oklahoma, so maybe it was 2 years ago.
Yeah, I just remember there was a year, but they had like just a really weird bye.
2021 it was after Kansas.
It might have been it. Yeah, I think that might have been it because it was. They took their anger out at Kansas, and then it was like they could have momentum, and then it was nope, just had that bye.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know how you feel, but I think that if they lose against Cincinnati, they're going to be beating Baylor.
I'll be honest, I don't feel great going to Baylor. There's just Baylor's that Baylor. Baylor to me is the Big 12 version of Iowa, where there's always some fuckery that happens. Whether whether it's who was it got ejected last year, like 3 plays into the game. Was it Freeler?
Yeah. Yep, I was at that game.
Yeah, Bo Freeler got ejected for targeting on like the second drive of the game or something.
Was not targeting.
And then the next play, Colby Reeder got flagged for personal foul for pushing a guy.
Roughing the passer when he just like.
No, he got called for unnecessary roughness because he hit the running back coming out on the break of his route. He just pushed him over and got flagged for personal foul on that. And then
there was one where it was one of them grabbed the quarterback's leg.
Yeah.
And tackle him, but because he was going in for a sack, and then one of the linemen was chasing him around the edge and pushed him, and he fell and grabbed the quarterback's leg.
Yep.
And he got called for unsportsmanlike conduct or something like that.
Yeah, well there was the one that was like tripping or I don't remember. There was so much nonsense last year against Baylor that I clearly failed at trying to forget it.
It could be a revenge game too.
It could be.
I don't know. I think going into November, I think that they will have 2 losses. This is, by the way, like I said, this is their best. This is their ceiling. I think that they'll have their ceiling 2 losses going into November.
Yeah, I have us 4-4. I have us losing to Baylor and Cincinnati.
Yeah, and I think that's also reasonable too. I think some of those games are pretty. If they're playing it close, it's gonna be happening. But so even at 4-4, going into November, I think that's still okay. It's not
for sure.
Not the end of the world, but
for sure. So speaking of revenge games, Kansas comes to Ames.
We're winning it. I don't care what anybody says. We're beating Kansas. I don't care.
I like it. Who's the Kansas quarterback?
Daniels.
Yeah. Jalen Daniels. So here's the thing, right? I think Jalen Daniels is a very explosive quarterback.
He's a good quarterback,
and I don't think that that's disputable. I think you give him some time, you give him some space, he's just gonna cook, and that's just the kind of quarterback he is. Mm-hmm. But Iowa State's defense is not gonna let him cook.
Oh, they're not going to.
They did it last year. There's no reason that Iowa State lost that football game last year. There's not one logical thing that you can tell me that Iowa State loses that game this year, or last year, and there's nothing you can tell me that's gonna make me think that we lose it this year. I think Iowa State beats Kansas this year, and I'm sick of pretending that that's not the case.
And I think that we go 100% on field goals that game. I am optimistic that our special teams will be in the hundreds. ranked in the hundreds this year. Not what was it, 120
Yeah.
something. So I think that they get a boost, and I think that they'll go 100%
Yeah.
field goals.
I I would love for us to go 100% on field goals in any game this year. If it was against Kansas, that just makes it all the sweeter.
Yep.
Um,
I I'm calling it now. Iowa State's gonna beat Kansas by like 14, like we'll put it two touchdowns and two field goals.
so 20. I like that.
Yeah,
How about this? How about this? I'll do the ultimate revenge game. We went
yes.
on a game-winning field goal.
Okay, I like that too.
Because
Either
look,
or, as long as you win.
look, it's a win all the same. Okay,
Yep.
whether it's by 100 or it's by 1, a
Yep.
win is a win is a win. And
True.
last year should have been a win, and this year it's gonna be a win. And there's nothing you could say that changes my mind on that.
So now Kansas, you have them at 5-4.
5-4.
Yep, and I have them at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
What?
6,
7?
7-2.
7-2 and 5-4. So now we hit the other team that's
Yes.
new to the Big 12 in BYU,
Here's my thing.
the Fightin' Mormons.
Yeah.
Sorry,
BYU.
is that not PC? Sorry, my bad.
No, I'm Catholic.
No,
Out
go
there.
for
Hey,
it.
I found out- so oddly enough, side story.
Yeah, go
oddly
for it.
enough,
Go for it.
there's I'm in the National Guard, and one of the guys in my unit went to BYU, and I was like, "Why did you go to BYU?" And you're from Iowa, and I was like thinking, okay, well, and either he's Mormon, or maybe I don't know if he just wanted to go there. And he's like, he's like, yeah, part of the LDS, and I got a free scholarship. I'm like, you got a free scholarship? I'm like, did you play a sport or anything? He's like, no, if you're part of the LDS church, free. And I'm like, what? I'm like, so you're telling me that you can go to BYU for free, and I'm like, I'm Catholic, and I can't go to Notre Dame for free? Like,
Bruh.
what is this?
Bruh, you got scammed.
Yeah, God, but I would rather. I mean, I still love Iowa State.
Yeah,
I'm
for
glad I
sure.
was there. But I think BYU is beatable. But
Yeah.
here's my ideal about it is it's at BYU. They're not acclimated to it. They're not acclimated to playing there. It's gonna be a close game probably up until end of the third quarter, and they're gonna be huffing and puffing, and it's not gonna be good. So
yeah.
I think that BYU wins a close one.
So BYU, again, that's a good program. That's a program that gives Utah fits all the time. Not that I think Utah has anything to write home about.
They beat Baylor last year.
They were. That game was very close. I don't remember who won.
Find it here.
Yeah, let me.
I think it went in overtime, didn't it?
It did. Yeah, they number 9. Yeah, number 9 Baylor.
Yep, 2 overtime.
Lost in double overtime.
So, they beat Baylor, but Baylor was a good team last year, and I just think that they're not acclimated. Iowa State's not going to be acclimated at all.
Yeah,
and it'll probably be a close game, but I don't think I don't think that they'll get it.
Yeah, I kind of spoiled it with my Cincinnati pick. I think both these teams playing Cincinnati and BYU both on the road just upsets me to no end. And yeah, I do have BYU winning a close one. Keaton Slovis, I believe, will be the BYU starter.
Yeah.
Transferred there from, where was he at? Pitt.
Yes, he was.
Yeah, he's with like his third team now. So
it's like another Jalen Daniels.
Yeah.
Not Jalen Daniels. Sorry. Holy cow.
We were just talking about Jalen Daniels.
Yes, I was thinking about him. The guy that was on West Virginia last year. Is that Rice now?
Oh, JT Daniels.
JT Daniels.
Yeah,
Okay, sorry. Yeah,
you were close.
my
You're
bad.
good.
I just say that he should have went to a Big Ten school because he could have just went around. He went
Yeah,
Pac-12, Big 12, went to SEC,
yeah.
but no,
There you
went to Rice. Um,
go.
anyways, BYU, yeah, I don't think that they beat them. They're a beatable team. If they were at
Yeah.
Ames, they would
In
win.
in
Too,
Ames,
but
I might give Iowa State a slight edge, but
yeah,
it's just the like I said, they're just gonna want to send a message coming into the Big 12, and I think
hmm
Iowa State's just weak enough to be that kind of not necessarily the team that everybody bullies on, but just kind of like they're not exactly the most special team out there, or at least to me, we're not. Um, Maybe I'll get proven wrong, and I would love to eat crow on that. But um, yeah, I just BYU at home.
hmm
We still have the
yeah,
better bridge, but
that's true.
they'll get us in
We can
football this year.
tailgate. We can tailgate too. So,
Yeah, for sure.
for what it's worth, ESPN does have Iowa State projected ahead at about 55% or so, and then the
That's wild.
Massey projections has a 66% chance of Iowa State winning.
That's crazy.
They have it
Because
at
to me, this is definitely like at best a pick 'em to me.
they have them at 28 to 21. So,
Okay.
but I mean, if you want to check out the Massey ratings, that's a pretty good site
Yeah.
to look at. It's pretty close. It was pretty close last year, but they had Iowa State I think going like 7-5 um, as well. But
Which with a couple of those one score games probably isn't off, but
oh yeah, definitely.
um
Uh, moving forward to
so
Texas.
so I have us in a weird spot here, Matt. Cuz I don't know if you've been paying attention, but I have us with 5 wins with these 2 games left.
Oh yeah, yep.
So, if you're Iowa State and you're looking at 5-5 with Texas and Kansas State to go on your schedule,
hmm
I don't know how happy you are.
Yeah.
Because I think you'd want to be to 6 wins before Texas and Kansas State.
Oh yeah.
So Texas comes to town late November, maybe a little chilly. That Austin heat, they're not gonna be used to that Ames cold.
hmm I mean, horns down. All I gotta say, horns
Oh
down.
yeah,
I I think Iowa State's gonna come out ready to what they say saw them off.
yeah. So yeah.
I think they're gonna be ready to play.
Can, can you wait, Matt? Matt, do you hear
Yeah.
that? SEC, SEC, SEC,
Oh my God, yeah,
SEC,
that's gonna be great. That's gonna be
SEC,
great.
SEC. They're just getting louder, Matt. They're so excited to go to the SEC. They don't care about Iowa State anymore. This game means nothing to Texas.
Mhm.
Give
They're
horns down, brother. Come on.
exactly
Give me that
horns down,
sixth
bro.
win.
Horns down.
Give me that
I
sixth
think
win.
here's another thing too. Will Texas be good this year? Probably. They're not back. They will never be back.
No, they'll never be
But
back.
will they be good this year? Yes, I think that realistically, I think that they will be in contention for uh, the Big 12 championship game. However, if that's the case, think about it. Let me look at their schedule again real quick. They're coming down to the end of the season. It is down to the finish line. They were just at TCU, so they probably came off a win there. Um, and all they gotta do is beat us. And I'm willing to bet it's going to be Texas Tech and Texas uh, for the projected for the championship game. So if that's the case, their last 2 games are Iowa State and Texas Tech. All they got to do is
Mm.
just beat little old Iowa State.
Little old Ames, Iowa stands in the
And,
way of Austin,
and beat,
Texas, and Big 12 greatness.
yes.
And I'll tell you
And
what, Matt, there is not a lot I like more than being a massive underdog with Texas coming to town.
I think Iowa State will come out to play this game and get that revenge.
Yeah.
And I think that I'm going to say it now. They'll beat him by 2 touchdowns. They
Two
will.
touchdowns.
Two
I love
touchdowns.
it. I love that
They,
confidence. I don't know if it'll be two touchdowns, but
it
I'd be
probably won't
really
be.
happy. I'd be really
But I
happy if it
hope.
was.
I hope.
Okay.
I put out a tweet. What was it last year? And it was something along the lines of like it's 2025 or 2024, and it's Rocco Beck starting versus Texas with. This is before I knew like that they were
Yeah.
leaving last year, but I was like versus Arch Manning and the Longhorns, and Rocco Beck throws for his career high touchdowns and yardages, and just puts Arch Manning to shame.
Yeah.
Something like that. So that would be just, oh man, that would be so great. But
Yeah.
I think they beat Texas comfortably.
Can I make my bold prediction for this Texas game?
Yes. Go ahead.
This Texas game is the Jalen Noel game.
Mm,
He scored his
Yep.
first touchdown against Texas last year.
Yep.
He had two that game. He had a monster game. Uh, he saw how last year ended. He don't want
Mm-hmm.
that again. He doesn't want
Mm-hmm.
that. He wants to beat Texas. This is the Jalen Noel game, right here, Texas.
Yep.
Coming to Ames, and we're gonna send him to the SEC with a big fat L. And
Yes.
having lost now, that would be what 4 out of 5 to Iowa State going to the
Yep.
SEC.
Yep.
So that's all I gotta say.
Yeah.
Horns down.
That'd be so great just to beat Texas one last time.
And then we close it out.
I want to hear.
Farmageddon.
I want to hear your thoughts on Farmageddon first.
So here's the thing. Kansas State was pretty good last year. I don't know if you heard. They went to the Big 12 title game last year.
Did you hear that they won 10 games?
Wait, really?
I mean, crazy.
That's crazy. We should try that sometime. They not only did they go to the Big 12, they won the Big 12 championship last year.
Mm-hmm.
They beat that TCU team that beat us by like 48 last year. But here's the thing, Matt. Here's the thing. Iowa State, Kansas State is very, very similar to Iowa State, Oklahoma State, in that it's always really close. There's not a lot of blowouts in that game. Unless it's Brees Hall going to work. Yeah, unless they play Brees Hall, then it's kind of a blowout. But there's also, Iowa State historically quite bad. You know who's historically worse against Iowa State though?
I can't.
There's about one team out there that's historically against Iowa State not 500 or better.
Would it be those Kansas State Wildcats?
It's Purple Kansas, Matt.
Kansas, yeah, the Wildcats.
So hear me out. I know I said I get one, but this year, oddly enough, Matt, I get 3, because I get TCU, Texas, and Kansas State. So give me 7 and 5 to end the year. I feel like even that, for as pessimistic as I am, I feel like that's a little optimistic, given that I gave myself TCU, Texas, and Kansas State. Hey. But we always play Kansas State real well.
Yeah, rightfully so. Yeah. Especially in the Matt Campbell era. I mean, when has they beat? Let's see here. They beat Iowa State by no more than I think a touchdown the most.
Yeah.
Maybe his first year playing. So first year playing them, I think that's what that was. But so, what I'll say. I am not on the Kansas State hype train. I am not. I don't see the appeal. I don't. Okay, cool. They have Will Howard. Great. He's this Heisman caliber quarterback. He's this world beater. He's the Cade McNamara of the Big 12, right? He's their savior. He's gonna take him to the championship this year. Don't think so. I don't agree. I do not see where they're going to be this, two-peat team this year. Don't get it. I don't get the hype.
Yeah.
I get that. I get that they won against us last year.
By one whole point. by one
by
whole
one
point.
whole.
Well, okay, Matt, let's not get ahead of ourselves. Kansas State did not beat Iowa State. Iowa State beat Iowa
We beat
State.
ourselves. Yes.
Iowa
Yeah.
State beat Iowa State. Let's make that perfectly clear here.
I get that it's at Kansas State, and Manhattan is a tough place to play. But you know, I I think that if I here's what I'll say: if with my record projection, if Iowa State is coming down to the wire, their last game, just think about it. They have lost 3 games, and I'm no way, shape, or form saying that they are going to. I am not projecting them in the championship game, but I just want you to think about it. If
Right.
they are at this point 8-3, they're knocking at the door. I mean, they're probably going to be pretty damn motivated to win that game. Wouldn't you say?
I would say so. Or
I
rather
think
I
that
would think
they,
so.
yeah, I think that they beat Kansas State. Now it's going to be a close one.
Oh, for
It's
sure.
not going to be a blowout. It's not going to be a blowout. But they do come off of playing at Kansas. I don't know how much of a toll that will take for them to, be playing their other rival right before us. But could take that into consideration.
Worth noting, Keegan Johnson is on Kansas State, the Iowa transfer.
Well, he wasn't.
He didn't do
He
much
wasn't.
last year. He was
Yeah,
he
he
was
wasn't.
okay for them in 2021, but did not. I think he was hurt last year. So,
Yeah.
but yeah,
I just don't.
I know
I
there's
don't
some
get the
K
hype.
State fans hyping up Keegan Johnson. So,
I just don't. I don't get the hype, and I just don't see it. Like they kind of. I'm not going to say backdoored their way into the championship last year, but there was games that they should have definitely lost. Ohio State, but uh, you know,
right.
I think that I don't think that they're going to get back to there again. But so coming to the end of the season, uh, I think our ceiling is 9-3. Will they get there? Probably not.
Who knows?
Who knows? Um, but I think our floor is definitely. I would say if not 6-6, it'll be 5-7. I think that
Yeah,
they'll. I have a good feeling they'll probably be somewhere around 7-5, like you talked about.
yeah. Maybe I'm a little bit wishful thinking with Texas and Kansas State as opposed to maybe like a BYU or a Cincinnati or something. And then
Yeah.
obviously I have us losing to Iowa, which is always a toss-up game as well. I feel like, but maybe I have the games wrong, but I feel like 7-5. If you're sitting, 6-6, 7-5, you're pretty happy with it. Given we talked about it in the beginning of the show, this adversity about this whole gambling thing. You got a bunch of guys that you need to replace that you maybe weren't expecting to, and you're coming off a 4-8 year that nobody really enjoyed watching happen. So, if you're bowling, you always hate to have that be the benchmark, but I feel like if you're 6-6, 7-5, and you're going to a bowl game at the end of the year, and you're Matt Campbell, you're pretty good with that.
Oh yeah, 100%. And as long as they can break 500, I think that the following year in 2024 will, be probably even better. So
Yeah,
the one thing I do want to say after having gone through all this is uh, just taking a look at what coming into the season, what we have lost with the gambling, like I talked about before, is take the baseline of last year. Okay, we removed Deckers, we removed Brock. Granted, Brock was essentially gone for most of the year,
yeah.
so that's really just it's a non-point at this at this time. And
Brock was hurt a lot of last year, which
yeah,
sucked. But
yeah, just take the baseline. Look at all the close games that Iowa State was in. I know you talked about the
for sure,
margins.
for sure.
We need to win those margins, but look at the baseline. Okay, we yeah, Deckers is gone, but like I said before, if we are riding with the Deckers is bad, okay, well then obviously our QB2 is going to be better, okay, so that is a little bit better. So on that end, okay, QB plays up, all right. We have brought in the GOAT, Ryan Clanton.
Yep.
Um, our obviously he has looked at our talent on the line and said that, oh, I don't need to go into the transfer portal because the talent is already there and develop it. So he's developing our line play, and I think that will be up a little bit more. And as like I said, as long as we have a decent, just an average line, that's all we need. Average line, offensive line, we'll be sitting good. Our wide receivers, they make up for the loss of X. Now they're not one person is as good as X,
Right.
but all together they make up for that loss. Okay,
Yeah.
so we have the line play up, we have the receiver core up, we have the quarterback up, running back room, tons of depth. Running back room, okay, that's up. And then tight ends. Now that's yet to be seen. Not really sure
I
what to
tell you
say about,
what,
but
if Brahmer is what it sounds like he is,
mm-hmm.
that that could be quite the development.
Oh yeah,
If this Brahmer kid turns out to be what it sounds like he is.
yep. And so if he is, say if he turns out to be what they say he is, okay, what's that saying? Right, rising a tide raises all ships. Okay, so that means that the offense is going to take a step up. I just don't
And
understand.
and you
Mm-hmm.
lost Tom Manning for Nate Shieldhouse, so that got
That's
better.
true too. Yes,
Not to
and
beat a dead
uh,
horse, but
no, completely agree. So I don't know what this is where I'm trying to kind of understand with everybody that's being pessimistic and everything. From what I just laid out, if that is all raising the bar up from what I just said, then why is it that everybody is saying that we're taking a step back? I want somebody to actually and I don't care if somebody puts in the comments on this video,
yes, you
tell
should
me,
comment
what,
on this video and get that algorithm going.
explain to me where is it that are we taking a step back from what I just explained? Our defense, okay, our defense is going to be just as good as last year, if not maybe better. I understand Will McDonald's not there, but our secondary is going to be great, and I
Right.
guarantee you, Coach Rashid is going to be developing those defensive linemen to be, um, just as elite as Will McDonald could be. I mean, they're not going to be as good as Will McDonald,
Right.
obviously, it's generational, but to be, to make up for that lack.
I just
So
want I just want to see who's going to. So obviously, there's a lot of talk about Will McDonald, as there should be. First Iowa State,
yeah,
first round draft pick in 50 years or whatever. But I just want to see who's going to be this year's MJ Anderson, because that was the
yeah,
guy that stepped up, that took a massive load off of Will McDonald. If you're going to double Will
mm-hmm.
McDonald, MJ Anderson is going to swallow your quarterback whole.
Exactly.
If you're going to
Yep.
double MJ Anderson, Will McDonald is going to swallow your. Who's going to be that MJ Anderson? Because, I mean, Iowa State has some guys on that defensive front. There's Tyler Onyedem is up there. Dominique Orange, I believe, is up there. Who's going to be that guy that takes that step and is that dominant presence? Not necessarily to the Will McDonald level, but who's going to be that MJ Anderson this year? And
Yep.
I think there are guys that are capable of doing that. I just want to see it. And if that comes,
Yeah.
then yeah, for sure.
Exactly. And Dom Orange breakout year, I think, too. But, I just want somebody to explain to me where is it that we're taking a step back, that we're going to just be absolutely just bottom of the barrel this year.
Right.
What is after I've just explained that, what is it going to be that makes us worse than West Virginia or Houston this year? I don't get it. I don't understand it.
I don't know I don't think we'll be worse than West Virginia or Houston. I don't know where those people are coming from, but if there are those people are wrong. But
I've seen stuff after the gambling allegations. They're just like, oh my God, they're going to be 14th in the Big 12 now. And it's like, you obviously have not known about this since May like we have, but okay.
Yeah. No, I feel like that's, a lot of the, maybe it's, the people that are outside the sort of news to it, but I feel like a lot of people, not to say that this is a minor thing. Obviously, this is not a minor thing. But, they've known about this for a long time. This is not something that popped up 2 days before camp started, and all of a sudden they're scrambling to replace these guys.
Yeah, why do you think Campbell got the that transfer QB? You know,
Yeah, the JUCO. Um, oh, what's his name? Oh, I
I
forget
know
his
I
name.
can't remember his name. God, yeah, I can't remember his name. I don't have him on the sheet here. Spring
Tanner
practice, I got.
Hughes. Tanner
Yeah,
Hughes.
they said that he might be put in packages like Joel Lanning, or that just
That would be
kind of
sick.
you know punching up the gut and whatnot. But I hope that they go under center more this year. I I hope they go under center more. Hope that they can actually make field goals and take yardage from returning punts and
Yes.
kickoffs.
Yes.
Instead of just kick the ball in the damn end zone or
Yes.
out of the end zone. Just
Yes.
do that every time.
That's always my favorite part about like the first home game is when we're playing like the FCS school or whatever, or in this case we'll be playing UNI.
Yeah.
Whenever that one kickoff just happens to touch the goal line and the crowd just
Yep.
explodes, like just do that every
Yep.
time. Make it so that that's
Yeah.
not something
Exactly.
that the crowd has to explode over. And we can maybe pick up some wins there that we didn't have last year.
I know we didn't talk about special teams, but I think, like I said before, if they can just be up past the, into the hundreds,
Yeah.
being ranked with special teams, they'll be a lot better off. I'm not expecting them to take a huge, gigantic step, but I mean, just take those punts and get as far as you can. Quit
Yeah.
fair catching them all the time, And I think since we got a special teams coordinator, it's going to be a little bit better. I hope. I hope.
We'll see. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got us 9-3 ceiling. We went with the ceiling
Yep,
predictions
ceiling.
for you this time. I have a
Yep.
7-5. I think that's like I said. I think that's good record. Maybe win here, loss there, different for the teams.
Yeah.
But
Realistically, I think
yeah.
they're going to be 7-5, like what you
So
said. So,
I think that's gonna do it. We definitely ran long, but that's fine. It's
all
been
right.
like an hour and a half, but that's fine.
I like
I love talking Iowa State. Love previewing. We'll maybe get you on for some recaps or previews to go more in depth to specific games or something here during the season. But Matt, thank you for joining.
love
Do you
that.
have any final words for Cyclone Nation?
Just you want to go ahead and follow me on Twitter.
For sure.
It's at Matt with 2 T's. Otherwise, go Cyclones.
Matt's Twitter and my Twitter will both be in the description. Thank you guys so much. If you did stay to the end, hats off to you for listening to Iowa State content for an hour and a half. This will definitely be the longest non-live stream on the channel. So thank you guys for tuning in. If you enjoyed the content, drop a like down below. Comment where you think we went right and where you think we went wrong. If you liked the video, like I said, click the like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. That's going to do it for both of us, and we'll see you next time. Peace out.